Greetings, everyone. I welcome you all to the Hustler Summit series of Guindy Times, the official campus magazine of CG, ACT, and SAP. I'm Harini, pursuing third year in EC department. Today we have here Mr. Rajesh Navaneetham. He's a successful co-founder of Semcostyle Institute India, angel investor, board member of Thinkable Labs, founder partner of Catalytics Growth Consultants, founder trustee of Youth India Educational Trust, and a passionate supporter of startups that use technology to solve societal problems, and much more. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Very good, Harini. You've done your homework about, talking about
Yes,
what my profile. Okay. Pleasure
yes,
to
sir.
be here, Harini. And, and I always love, every opportunity to connect with my alum, my college, so pleasure to be. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, how did you get started with businesses and startups?
How did I get started
Yes,
with
sir.
startups? Is it what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
So there is a long version and a short version, but let me try to be brief. Actually, Harini, so when I left college, I started like most other people, got into a job. I joined L&T and went into a regular corporate career, etc. So then eventually I joined Dell. I was at a pretty senior role at Dell. But somewhere along the line, while I was salary-wise, comp-wise, money-wise, it was all very comfortable. Somehow, there was no sense of accomplishment. You kind of felt emptiness, right? So, what am I doing? There was no sense of purpose to what I was doing, right? So that really made me think long and hard. And I said, if not now, when? And by the time before I turn 50, I should get out of a corporate role and get into trying my hand at entrepreneurship. More specifically, so while at Dell, I was working to solve, problems for global corporates. Let's say, Canadian Railways or Coca-Cola, or for them, how do we optimize their systems? That was a kind of problem I was working with. But every day I go to office, I see problems abound in my country, in my city, around me, right? So I felt bad about whose problem am I trying to solve? Whatever knowledge I have gained, whatever skills I have, would it not be put to better use to solve problems that I see around me? Right? And that's what prompted me to say, okay, I'm going to quit this regular corporate job and and jump on to entrepreneurship. Now, it was not a straight jump. I also had a strong yearning to do what I can to help people come out of poverty in our country. So we are still not, we still have a lot of poverty around us. So I wanted to do that. So I started an educational trust, right? So the purpose was to fund the education of deserving students. We did this for several years. And I realized that though these were bright students who we had sent to engineering colleges, etc., there were still a few people who didn't get a job. So that's when the realization was the problem in our country, a bigger problem in our country is lack of jobs rather than lack of education, right? So that's when I shifted my focus from, funding education to funding startups. So by funding startups, you're creating more jobs, right? So one thing led to the other. And I looked at myself at that age, do I have the energy to run, do stuff? Or what do I have? So, and the skills that I've gained during my corporate career were all about scaling up organizations. It was all about leadership, agile leadership. It was all about how do you build teams. So I decided to set up an institute that will help organizations to grow. But more importantly, I decided to become part of the Indian Angel Network and become an angel investor and look for startups that are solving social issues in the country through technology. So I look for such startups and I invest in them. So a long answer, but that's the story, Harini.
That was a very interesting answer, sir. What are some of the common startup mistakes made by aspiring entrepreneurs, and what can be done to overcome them?
Quite a few, Harini. So I've been part of the Indian Angel Network for close to more than 5 years now. So I keep listening to pitches. I work with entrepreneurs quite a bit, and I see several mistakes. Okay, let me just try to pick top 3, 4 what I see. One is most entrepreneurs don't realize the importance of selling. They don't understand the importance of the skill to communicate, skill to sell. It's not enough if you have a solution. You need to have the ability to sell the solution to somebody, right? So most entrepreneurs think that, hey, if I have a solution, I'll become a successful entrepreneur. No, you need to have that skill to be able to tell the world what you have. So ability to sell, ability to communicate becomes super important. Okay, number one. Number two, there are a lot of, we being engineers, we are not exposed enough to a sustainable financial model. How do you build a sustainable business model, right? So that aspect is not taught to us in college. We don't learn in our corporate jobs. That's something entrepreneurs need to kind of, I would say, seek a mentor to understand. Let me explain, right? But after I became an entrepreneur, after I became part of the Indian Angel Network, is when I learned this whole concept of CACS, CACS. It's called cost of customer acquisition. Okay. So what is the cost you need to incur to acquire a customer? Cost of customer acquisition, right? I didn't realize that this is a significant part of the business model that you need to consider when you build a startup, right? So some of these business model basics, we engineering colleges, we don't realize it, we don't know it. So I would strongly recommend want to be entrepreneurs to identify a good mentor, or see if there are some courses in entrepreneurship one can learn on the web, etc. Right? So awareness of creating a sustainable business model. That's number two. An entrepreneur needs to realize that that's important. Third is the importance of having a co-founder, right? See, entrepreneurship journey is very, very difficult, right? You have your ups and you have your lows. And these lows can be really, these lows can be, take an emotional toll on you, okay? And that's when you realize the importance of having a founder, a co-founder with you, a partner with you. So let me kind of stop there. That would be my 3 top, things for entrepreneurs to, think about. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the most important one, right? So the most important one is when you do a startup, your purpose should not be to make money. Let me clarify. Your only purpose should not be to make money. Your purpose should be to solve a problem. If you aspire to solve a problem in a sustainable financial manner, then you will succeed. But if you start up thinking, I want to become a unicorn, I want to get $1 billion valuation, I want to make money. See, there is a saying, when you chase money, it runs away from you. Okay. So the intent with which you do a startup should be to solve a problem that customers are facing.
So that was very insightful. What are some of the things you would look at as an angel investor before investing in a startup?
First, how passionate and how committed the entrepreneur is, right? About the problem he or she has chosen to solve. How committed and passionate are you? So how will I assess that? I look at the homework you have done, right? I look at, what kind of research have you done about that market? I look at, what effort have you put in building the solution. I look at what effort you have put in trying to talk to customers and trying to sell, right? So number one will be how passionate and committed the entrepreneur is, right? Number one. Number two will be the ability to listen. Okay, that's super important for me. So see, most entrepreneurs, most successful entrepreneurs will have to pivot. What is this pivot? See, you will normally start with an idea. Take, for example, Flipkart. Started with an idea of, a online book library or selling books online. You'll see how it has morphed itself into something much, much larger. Take Ola, for example. He wanted to start a service, a cab service from city to city. But see what he ended up doing. So this will happen to most entrepreneurs. You start off solving a problem and you understand what's happening in the market, the dynamics change, and you have to be able to change your business. You have to be able to change your business model, right? And you will be able to do that only if you have humility, only if you have the ability to listen. If you go with an attitude that I know it all, right? So then you're not going to be able to listen to signals in the market, right? You won't be able to listen to the advice that comes from mentors. You won't be able to listen to the points that an investor is trying to make. So ability to listen is important for me. Listen, learn, introspect, etc. Right? That is number 2. And I also look at that person's IQ and EQ. How sharp is the guy? How is he? How fast is he willing to learn? And I also look at that team's ability to sell, the team's ability to communicate, the team's ability to be able to, because whatever you do, you have to be able to convince somebody to buy that solution from you. Without somebody buying it from you, there is no organization, correct? So for that, do you have the ability to communicate and convince somebody, right? So I look at that aspect as well, right? So there are there are a lot more, but these would be the significant top few, Harini.
Okay, sir. So what has been your primary source of motivation and inspiration all throughout your life since the time you started with businesses and all?
So it keeps changing, Harini. So from time to time, what inspires me changes. So when you read about my profile, you mentioned about me being on the board of Thinkable Labs. Okay, so I invested in that company when the founders were your age. They were still in the 3rd year in college, right? And when they came and made a pitch, I was so impressed by their commitment to solve the problem of blind people learning Braille. That's what the company does. Okay. And the homework they had done, they had gone to blind school, understood the challenges, they had developed a nice electromechanical online connected computing device to solve the problem. They'd done a prototype. All this, the energy, the enthusiasm, the background research they had done. So I decided to invest in them. I am on their board. I've helped them raise their investment. I raised money, and they successfully built a product. Now they were in the first episode of Shark Tank. They got a lot of appreciation and funding. They've now secured an order from the US for selling to the blind students in the US. So why I'm getting into that story is every time I see them, talk to them, though I shouldn't say kids, right? So those youngsters inspire me with their sense of purpose, and it's so for me, since I started the entrepreneurship journey, investment journey, it is this young entrepreneurs with their boundless zeal and energy and enthusiasm that I find very inspiring, right? Closer home, like I said, it keeps changing, so right behind me, I have a dog sleeping next to me, and he's a blind dog. Okay, so we adopted him. He's now 6 years old, and I see how he deals with his life. We'll be walking, he'll just go hit himself against a tree or against a wall or against a chair. But it just takes him 5 seconds to stand up, shake himself, and then again continue walking. And I learned resilience from him, right? He doesn't sit down and say, oh my God, what do I do? No, oh my God, the guy enjoys life like crazy. You should see him running around, right? So I find inspiration in, in all the things that I see around me, right? So I can't answer there is one thing that has inspired me, right? So, and I'm also a huge lover of nature. I see a flower and the flower inspires me. So, uh, I'm sure that's not the answer you expected.
That's quite amazing, sir. As a strong supporter of democratic management style based on trust and common sense, how essential are these principles when developing businesses and organizations?
Oh, lovely question. I'm very impressed by that question, Harini. Awesome question, right? So, Harini, I work with a lot of startups. I've consulted with a lot of companies, right? When a startup has to scale, very often the founder's strength often becomes his or her weakness, right? So what happens is, when you start up, when you're doing everything, you're doing hands-on, you're doing yourself, right? You're doing the product, you're doing the selling, etc. Right? But as you scale, you can't do everything yourself, correct? So you've got to be able to know how to trust somebody else to do it for you. As you build a team around you, you've got to be able to build a team that you can trust, right? So if you're not able to build a team, you can't scale your startup. You cannot. You'll only be a one-man army, right? So a leadership style that is built on trust, what does that do? It enables every one of your team members to also behave like an entrepreneur. So they'll also, they won't simply do what you're telling them to do. They'll also put their ideas, thoughts, they'll want to make you succeed. So that's the power of building an environment of trust. Most people, today end up issuing orders to their team members. Say, you do that, you do this, you do that, you do this. And then managing them, did you do that, did you do this, right? That's a stupid way of building a team. That's a stupid way of getting work done by a team. Instead, inspire them with the goal that you're trying to achieve. Inspire them with the purpose. Give them all the information and trust them to come up with original ideas to solve problems, right? So, answer to your question, for a startup to scale successfully, it's extremely important to build a team where there is a lot of trust. Otherwise, what will happen is, as a founder, you will be focusing on your team. Are you doing what you're supposed to do? Instead of focusing on your customer, instead of focusing on the market, right? As a leader, you should not be spending too much time with your team. You should be spending time with your customer. You should be spending time with your market. How can you do that if you don't trust your team, right? So, great question. So if a founder has the ability to build a trusted team, he or she will succeed.
Sure, sir. It's very insightful. Knowing about your objective of aiding at least 1,000 underprivileged families to transcend poverty and mentoring them to obtain gainful employment is very encouraging, sir. So how is it going now, and how did you get started with this?
So, I told you, as a founder, it's important to pivot, right? You look at what's happening and you have to change, right? So this was something which, out of my own savings and my brother, both of us started this trust. And the reason for starting this trust is also interesting because my father comes from a very poor background. When he was in college, he was the first to go to engineering in his family. He was born in a small village near Salem. So when he was in the first year in college, his father told him that we don't have money, I can't pay your fee. So my father went, asking for donations from all the shopkeepers in the village. So someone would give 5 rupees, someone would give 10 rupees, and he had made a list of all the people who gave him money, and he shared that with me and my brother, around 15 years ago, right? By when we were around 40 or so, I was 40 or so, he shared that, and that's when we realized that if those people did not help my father, I wouldn't be in this happy position, correct? So because my father was able to go to college, because he was able to get a job, he was able to educate me. Correct. So me and my brother said, okay, hey, so it's our turn to give as well. So that's when we started this trust. And the objective was at least 1,000 people, we have to directly help them to get out of poverty. We sponsored the education of close to 50 students. And like I said, but over time, we saw that of these 50, only 30 odd were able to get a job. 15 odd, did not find a job. That's when my shift became, I want to shift to creating jobs. And that's how the entrepreneurship journey began. So this Thinkable Labs, for example, right? So that startup develops products which enable the blind people to learn Braille themselves. Okay. Now, fascinatingly, this product itself is built by factories that have blind people, that employ blind people, correct? So this startup alone, now they have got an order for selling 1,000 units to the US at $1.3 million valuation, right? Now, to do that, they are going to employ a lot of people in India, right? So my journey has moved from lifting people from poverty through education to lifting people from poverty by creating jobs. And that's my purpose when it comes to investment. And I want to do that by creating companies that solve a social issue. Right?
So that's very kind, and it's very motivational and inspirational to hear that. Do you have any big takeaways from your college experience?
It's been a while, so I'm going to have to go back and think and see. So college experience, the biggest experience, takeaway from college is, see, you're suddenly put amongst people from various cultures, right? When you get into a hostel, you're beginning to figure out life on your own, right? It teaches you lessons in interpersonal relationships. So every day is a new day, a new challenge. How do you overcome? I'm talking of these are small challenges, but so that is from outside the classroom. But from inside the classroom, what engineering? I did electrical engineering. I don't use the Ohm's law or circuit theory in my job or what I do, but I use the analytical skill they teach you to solve a problem. Problem-solving skills, right? So that's super important. That's something which you gain in college, right? So problem-solving ability, interpersonal skills. Suddenly you're put into you have students from all over the country, right? Whereas before that in a school, everybody in my school came from my small town, right? So it was a fascinating experience for me, realization that there are different kinds of people, different aspirations, different outlooks. So how do you coexist with all of them, right? So that was for me a great lesson that I took away from college.
That's so nice, sir. Sir, so what are your thoughts on this Guindy Times initiative in this entrepreneurship series?
No, so let me answer that and a little more.
Okay, sir, sure, sir, sure.
What you're doing is super important. What you're doing is, I can't tell you how much I want to support you in what you're doing, because I strongly believe entrepreneurship is so important for an individual, for a nation, right? Why is it important for a nation? Like I've told you, we need people who can create purposeful jobs. Why would I want to do engineering and go work in a Coca-Cola which sells some sugared water to somebody? What nonsense is that? Like, why would I want to do? Why would I want to spend my skill and energy in enabling somebody else's dream to come true? Correct? What happens to my own dream? What happens to my own passion? Right? So entrepreneurship is super important for the country to create jobs, number one. Number two, when you become an entrepreneur, Harini, it puts you in such tough situations that it forces you to know a lot more about yourself and improve yourself as a person. Right? I left my corporate career after maybe 30 years. All the time I was building products in engineering, etc. I never realized the importance of communication and selling I never realized the importance of selling. So now at this age, I'm reading books on how to sell, right? So had I been an entrepreneur early on, I would have learned this ability. And in my career, maybe I would have done even a better job. So entrepreneurship teaches you so many life skills. See, in college, they don't teach you financial management. In college, they don't teach you how to network with people. In college, they don't teach you how to sell. But these are all life skills which are so important. So becoming an entrepreneur enables you to get all these skills. You have to get all these skills, right? So I'm assuming that the purpose of the magazine you're running is to inspire and trigger entrepreneurship spirit in students. Am I right?
So we do a lot actually. There's this one series of entrepreneurship. We do music, dance, everything, just everything.
Okay. So I kind of narrowed it down to the entrepreneurship. So and what you're doing itself is an entrepreneurial stuff, Harini, because so you're trying to bring together. What is an organization? It is bringing together a group of people towards a common purpose. So you have a purpose of running this magazine. You're bringing together a group of people and trying to assimilate and spread knowledge of multiple things. Correct. So super important for you as a person and for readers and people who contribute. You have to get engaged in these kind of initiatives. It teaches you quite a bit. So and the last point you were asking me about, entrepreneurship and college, etc. Well, I really wish when I was a student in college, we had these incubation centers. Now, College of Engineering Guindy has Atal Innovation Mission. There is an incubation cell. There is a lot of support and infrastructure available in college today. Every student, if you're smart, you will go take advantage of that ecosystem. So I wish I had that while I was in college.
Very nice, sir. So with that, we come to the end of the interview. It was very nice and very motivational, very inspiring to talk to you, sir. And we also take pleasure in interviewing a lot of people like you, and like you all inspire us a lot. Thank you so much. And on behalf of Guindy Times, I wish you all the best for your future endeavors, sir. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
It was my pleasure, Harini. And we do have I also wanted to say that we have a Guindy entrepreneur WhatsApp group. Okay, people who have come from CEG who become entrepreneurs, and I know every one of them wants to support entrepreneurs in the college. Every one of them wants to give back to the college, right? So there is a lot we can do. So on behalf of entrepreneurs who have come from Guindy, I wish students all the best and good luck with your initiative as well, Harini. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.